The Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show is all about promoting the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. If there's a product or initiative you wish to share, feel free to give us a call. The number is 0788 280 9005. A very warm welcome to all our listeners around the world. You're welcome to the Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show, promoting the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. So if there's an initiative you want to promote, feel free to give us a call on 0788 280 9005. And we have some amazing guests lined up for the rest of the year. And this evening, we're speaking to a very amazing role model who is a solicitor. She's also a lawyer, a lecturer, and she also leads a law clinic that gives free advice to students and members of the public as well. She also is the head of the Leeds African International Festival 2023 steering group. And this evening, we're going to be talking more about this amazing initiative taking place in July this year. And I hope you've all got your tickets for this amazing event. Tuiya Tembo, it's amazing to have you on the show today. First and foremost, thank you so much for all the amazing work you're doing at the moment in bridging African communities, especially in Leeds. How are you feeling today?
Yes, I'm feeling good. I feel like you kind of oversold me, but yes, yeah. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Really good to be on your show, and quite excited to sort of just thinking about the Leeds International African Festival is getting me quite excited.
I'm feeling very excited as well because there seems to be a buzz at the moment. Everyone seems to be talking about this festival in West Yorkshire. And I met you for the very first time, I think it was 2 years ago. Time flies.
It does indeed, yes.
Benefit of all our listeners listening around the world today, can you tell us just a bit about yourself, your background, and what your role is as the head of the Leeds African International Festival Steering Group 2023?
Right, so as you rightly introduced me, my name is Tuiya, and I'm originally from Kenya. I came to Leeds to study law very many years ago with the intention of doing my 3-year law degree at the University of Leeds and then going back to my home country, Kenya, doing 1-year school of law and then setting up a law firm. But 2 children and a husband later, I'm still here. So yeah, so the 3-year plan has ended up being a 26-year plan. So I've been, I think it's, I don't like to count the years because then I feel really old in terms of, yeah, how long I've been. But yes, yeah, so that's me kind of in a nutshell in terms of who I am, my background, and really how I ended up in Leeds. And you know, and I'm still here in Leeds now. Yes. In terms of the Leeds International African Festival, so I've Ndidi, who's actually she's the person who was commissioned actually to get the festival together. I worked with her in the Leeds. We were co-trustees for the Leeds, and it's completely escaped me the African communities, the Leeds African Communities Trust. And so when she was commissioned, you know, she put in a proposal, etc. And Leeds 2023 were really excited, and they asked her, yes, go ahead, let's have this week-long festival. And she asked if I could assist by being the chair lady of the steering committee. Now, I'll admit, so we're going to have various elements to that festival. On each day, we'll have different things that we are showcasing. And so we've got several subcommittees that are leading those little events that we're going to have. And as the chair, my role is to try and pull everything together. However, I will say that my job as a chair has been very easy because the subcommittees that were put together, really credit to Ndidi in terms of having people who are very passionate about the festival as a whole. So each subcommittee has done a brilliant job in terms of getting themselves organized, which makes my work really quite easy in that I just turn up to the meetings, sort of run the agenda, take a few notes, etc. So yes, but my role really, especially now as we come to quite close to the dates when the festivals will start, then it's going to be quite important just to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, if that makes sense.
Now, it's a very exciting feeling. There's a lot of great teamwork, community spirit. But what have the preparations been like so far? And how important would you say it is for Leeds to be hosting first ever African International Festival 2023?
I think it's extremely important. I'll start with the second question before I go to the first question, but I think it's really important. I mean, Leeds is quite a cosmopolitan city. When I was coming to university in England over 25 years ago, my mother had studied in Leeds, so she was quite keen on Leeds, but she wasn't going to be prescriptive. But she felt that it would be important to go to a city where it's multicultural, a bit cosmopolitan, and then you kind of feel more at home. And I think over the years, Leeds has grown quite a lot in terms of a rich, diverse community. And so I think the fact that we've got a full week of showcasing what Africa has to offer, both within Leeds and bringing some of that from our home countries into Leeds, I think is really important because it's really what goes on the day-to-day life in Leeds. And a lot of Africans form a large part of the community of Leeds. They're rooted in Leeds and they're giving back to the community. So I think it's important to recognize how many Africans, or how Africa itself or Africans are very much intertwined within Leeds, and they consider Leeds their home. So I think it's important just to have that window.
Now, the tickets have been selling fast, and we urge our listeners to continue purchasing their tickets because this is going to be a very profound event. Well, I just want you to take a few minutes to talk to our listeners around the world today and just tell them a bit about what to expect in Leeds African International Festival 2023 in terms of some of the events which are lined up.
Right. Okay. So we do have quite a lot lined up. And what we tried to do is just ensure, and I say we, but I must give credit again to Ndidi because she put together the rough framework around what we would try and achieve. And then we've just come along as the committee members to put the meat around that. But one of the key things that we were hoping to achieve was to have something for everybody. And when I say something for everybody, I'm talking twofold. One, in terms of age groups, so that we've got something that the children will be able to align with, and young people will be able to engage with, and it's really at their level. And then we'll have the middle, because the older teenagers, the 18 to 20 as well, just having something that they're going to be interested in, and then sort of the adults as well. So we're ensuring that the full week will have something that's going to attract all the different age groups, and it's going to actually educate all the different age groups as well, and they'll be able to engage in the various activities that are aimed at those age groups. So that's the first element that we were hoping to achieve, and I think we've potentially nailed that. And then the second element was just the idea around, I might be very keen on food, somebody else might be very keen on art. So we've tried to give a very broad breadth of various aspects of the African culture that will attract different people depending on different people's interests. So that's another element that we've been able to capture. And the third element, as you'll appreciate, Tony, Africa is so wide. And even in my own country, Kenya, we have over 52 ethnic groups. So even just one country alone, there's quite a lot going on. So you can imagine in a week trying to bring all the elements of Africa can be quite tricky. But what we hope, and I believe we have achieved, is representing the different regions of Africa. So there's something from each region in Africa: Central Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa, just so that as well we are also giving a balanced representation of what Africa really is and what the Africans who are now settled in Leeds have been offering to the community and showcasing it to those who may not fully appreciate that. So yeah, so that's in a sort of broadly speaking what we should achieve during that one whole week. Yes.
I mean, in terms of the significance of this amazing event, the positive impact it's going to have on Leeds and West Yorkshire, and also the legacy it's going to create for young generations and older generations. Can you also tell our listeners right now three reasons why they should attend this year's Leeds African International Festival 2023?
Right, I'll start with the first one, which is probably the key one, and I'm stealing this from one of the committee members who summed it up quite nicely, because she said that this is akin to making a trip to Africa without actually having to buy the expensive air ticket and then obviously get all the, you know, if you need some immunization or visas, etc. So it really will be taking people around Africa in that 1 week. So really this will be quite an eye-opener for some people. For those with children, I would say bring them along as well, because for instance, my children have been born and bred in England, and once they know certain elements of Africa, it's very limited. So for some of the events, they're going to be learning quite a lot about the history of their own culture and also just having a broader understanding. But I'm not only talking about children who are of African descent, just children generally, because I think it's important for there to be an understanding around the history and around geography of other areas of the world away from just England or Europe for that matter. So it's going to be a trip to Africa and various stops around Africa without actually spending 800 or however hundreds of pounds in terms of the ticket. So that's one key element, and I think it's the sort of, for me, the biggest element. The second element, and we've got various events that we are holding, but you'll come along, enjoy the food. So food is really big in Africa. And I know that whenever you sort of invite people for food, regardless of their background, then they tend to find those flavors quite interesting, quite exciting. And one of the events is the jollof rice competition. If you'll permit me, Tony, just to touch on that very briefly. There's, for anyone who doesn't know about the jollof rice, it's quite a nice spicy rice, predominantly found in the West African region, but there's always that question around which region, which country makes the best jollof. Is it Nigeria? Is it Sierra Leone's? Is it Gambia? And we've got 5 countries that will be competing, Senegal, and I forget the other one. So it's going to be quite nice to be able to taste the different jollof rices and decide which one is the best. I'm biased because I have a friend from Sierra Leone and she always makes me jollof rice. So I've probably eaten the Sierra Leone's jollof rice a bit more, but coming along to the festival, you get to taste the African food freshly prepared. You can watch it as it's being prepared as well. And coupled with the food, we always have music. So there's that music element around it, that, you know, enjoyment of the music, etc. So I think that's another reason in terms of just getting to really see some of that culture. And then the third element, for instance, my earrings, there'll be a lot of African artifacts on sale at various stations. So when we have the jollof rice competition, there are going to be some stalls there. And then we also have a day, we open the festival actually with an exhibition. And with the exhibition, there'll be various stalls. There'll be some books on sale. So it will be quite good if anybody enjoys reading, where you can get some books written by African authors. authors, some of the authors will be there themselves, so you can get to speak to them, get that signed. But it's just a way of being able to really, you know, acquire some of these African artifacts or books or other items that you may have seen around, but not really easily accessible. So those are my three, but I could go on because there's going to be quite a lot on offer in terms of that. But really, come visit Africa right here in Leeds the first week of July, and it's going to be a promising week.
And both of us know that that's just the tip of the iceberg, because there's so much more to unfold that all our guests will see come July. I mean,
yes.
An amazing festival like this, what impact would you think is going to make in improving the spirit of community cohesion in Leeds and in West Yorkshire?
I think the impact is going to be great. One of the things that I think is really exciting is the fact that in terms of community spirit, I think there are two elements to that. There's a community spirit around all the Africans, because as I said, there are so many countries within Africa, and a lot goes on in the specific country communities. So Nigerians have a lot going on around some football competitions. They'll have their Independence Day celebration. Last Saturday, in fact, this Saturday just gone, I attended the Sierra Leone's Independence Day. The Kenyan Independence Day party is in December. But you tend to find that some of these are really just country specific, and we rarely have events where we bring all the Africans within Leeds under one roof. So it's really been interesting to see so many different people from various countries in Africa coming together to bring this festival to fruition. So the committee that is putting this together comprises of people from various countries, which is really good to see that community spirit. Then in addition to that, it will be very nice. I'm excited about bringing my work colleagues to come and see some of the things that I've talked about, but there hasn't really been that space to be able to showcase that. So just bringing people who perhaps have seen certain elements of Africa, others who are probably just curious but haven't had the opportunity, or there's been no event that's been available for them within, you know, to come and see this. So I think it's going to be really good to be able to just showcase and educate and enlighten and just share with people all around Leeds what Africa has to offer, or a very small fraction really of what Africa has to offer. Yes, yeah. And what I'm hoping is that from the back of this, we're going to be able to have maybe similar festivals on an annual basis, showcasing some of this. So we'll see what the flavor is like, but I'm confident that this is not just a one-off. We may not be this, you know, this may be our only year of City of Culture for a long while yet, but in terms of showcasing the African culture, hopefully this is a start of something that's going to be an annual thing.
A start off of great things to unfold in the future, creating big legacies for brighter days in Leeds and in the future. We're just wrapping up to the end of the show now. Can you just tell our listeners around the world where they can get their tickets, for those of them who have not picked up tickets yet?
Right, so we've got, we're actually sending out some flyers, and my barcode is not very clear there, but our tickets are going to be on Eventbrite, and we're going to be sending out quite a lot of information around on social media. We'll share the barcode with you, Tony, just so you can share that with your listeners, but the tickets are selling fast. And Tony, if you can allow me just to quickly touch on each of the various events very briefly. We start off with the exhibition that I mentioned, and that's going to be held in the city center at Leeds Beckett. One of the things that I did want to also state is that through this event, we're going to be able to also show certain other areas of Leeds that perhaps people haven't visited. For instance, the children's event that we're holding on Sunday is going to be held at Leeds Trinity University, and I think that's going to be quite good because it's a little outside of the city center. So for students who are thinking, I'm not so sure I want to go to university in Leeds, not so sure where I want to go, we've got the event on Saturday at Leeds Beckett in the city center. We've got an event on Sunday at Leeds Trinity University. We've got the Jollof Rice event at Leeds City College. So the locations of our various events, I think, is quite good and strategic, and we're very grateful to the partners, but it will also assist with people seeing other parts of Leeds that perhaps they've not previously visited, and for students, colleges and higher education institutions that perhaps they may not have previously considered. So that's another exciting element of it. So as I touched on, we've got the exhibition on the Saturday. That's what we are kickstarting with. We are hoping that throughout the festival, we're going to have ambassadors from the various African countries coming to the events. And then, as I said, Sunday, we've got the children's event. On Monday, we are launching an anthology, and that's going to be really exciting because the stories are going to cover some of the Africans in Leeds and giving a snapshot of how they've contributed to the rich culture that we now have within Leeds. And then we have a number of movies with we are partnering with the Hyde Park Cinema, so it will be really exciting to just show some of the African movies that have been directed and produced in Africa. I know Nollywood is quite well known, but at least we'll also be showcasing other films within Africa, so I'm quite excited about that. And you can get your tickets for the movies through the Hyde Park Cinema. And another element in terms of showcasing locations is that Hyde Park we're having a revamp, so it will be quite nice for people to come and also see the new Hyde Park Picture House that's been recently renovated. So that will be quite a good partnership that we have with Hyde Park Picture House. And then, as I already touched on, the Jollof Rice competition. And then, very exciting, we're going to close the festival with a dinner night award. And I know my colleague from the subcommittee, SABAH, had discussed that, but that's going to be a really good final event in terms of recognizing Africans who've had an impact within our community through the awards that we'll be giving. We'll be sending out nominations, so anybody within Leeds and its environs, please do nominate, within the various categories, people that you believe should be recognized through these awards. We're going to have a fashion show, and I'm always excited about African clothing because it's very colorful, so it'll be quite nice to be able to show that. And then we're also going to have some dancers, and they'll be dancing all around. I can't dance very well, but I like watching people dancing to the rhythm. So that's going to be quite exciting throughout, including through the dinner. There'll be poetry, and with the poetry, we're going to have poets from all ages. So we've got some youngsters right through to elderly people, and we also have some musicians. So really, really exciting. So get your tickets, Eventbrite, look out for the brochures that we'll be sending out, the various links, but there's a lot on offer, and I'll be surprised if there's nothing that has piqued anyone's interest through all the various elements that we're going to be providing during that 1 week.
Now, the package seems so colorful, and this seems to be one of the major highlights of this year. On a very final note, whilst you were on the topic of Leeds, and on a very final note, can you tell our listeners around the world today who have never visited Leeds why it's important right now to visit Leeds?
So Leeds is very up and coming, and I'll say that a lot of people think of London, but I believe that Leeds is a better London, if that makes any sense, because from a shopping perspective, we've got majority of the shops that you would have in London without the hustle and bustle of London. And for people who like a bit of peace and quiet, once you're done with your shopping within the city center, then you can go into, and you don't have to go very far out of Leeds to have some nice peace and quiet with the greenery. We've got a lot of parks that are quite beautiful. Roundhay Park, for instance, which is not far from where I live. But Leeds is really the city to be with, and I'm quite excited. And I think it was only right that we were voted City of Culture 2023, because it's a very cosmopolitan city, as I mentioned before, with a really rich variety of culture, bringing people from all over the world under one city. So perfect place to come and visit. For those who are thinking of studying, just as I did so many years ago, this is the place to be. Setting up businesses, this is the place to be. But certainly one week that you must put in your diaries is the week commencing the 8th of July. Come and join us for the Leeds International African Festival.
And also, not forgetting to mention that Leeds has been one of the fastest growing cities in the UK for very many years now.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. Tuiya, thank you so much for promoting community cohesion amongst African communities in Leeds and West Yorkshire. And we look forward to an amazing celebration in July. Keep shining all the way, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tony, for having me, and thank you for promoting our festival. Thank you.
Thank you.